What lies have you been told about yourself that you have accepted as the truth? Okay? So, what lies have somebody told you that you said, yeah, that's me. I'm going to hold on to that? See, for me, I accepted that I was stupid. Okay? And I even believed that I had the paperwork to prove it because I had to take IQ tests when I was in grade school, high school. Um, and when I took those tests, then the teachers knew what special classes to put me in because obviously I'm stupid. So that hopefully with the extra help, and I promise you I am so thankful for the extra help, but with the extra help, maybe I would have the possibility of graduating from high school. But the other thing with that is they made it very clear that college, that just wasn't going to be an option for me. I mean, I just didn't have the intellectual brain power to handle that. I could do some other things, but that was going to be a limitation. Okay? So let me think. What's the best place I think to start here for the story is really my first summer after I became a high school teacher. Okay, so that summer the county was doing a reading initiative where all of the teachers in the county had to go to this in-service class. And I don't remember if there were 50 or 100 teachers in the room that first day, but what does stand out to me that first day is the opening. They talked about the fact that if a child cannot read, they're 100% totally and completely worthless to society. And that got my attention. And the anxiety is building, and now I'm looking around the class or the room at all of these teachers who are nodding their heads in 100% agreement. And suddenly I feel like I'm back in high school again. Anxiety is going crazy. I want to hide. And I felt, and I thought I had finally broken free of all of this. But you see, my secret was simple, and nobody could know. I really can't read. So what I want to do here is kind of see if I can take that challenge and break it down a little bit into a narrow perspective in the hopes that maybe you'll be able to see this and have some understanding of what was going on. So let's start with a simple sentence. And I flashed that up on the screen for you guys, and I know that 99% of you see that thing flash and instantly, you have a complete picture in your mind of what is happening. And I find that fascinating. I think that is so cool. Except that's not what happens for me. Okay? There is so much more going on, and it's not that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to narrow down on the very first letter of the last word. And you go, yeah, it's a B. B, bat. Only option. What's to think about? It's a B. What are you, stupid? Can't read? Well, yeah, pretty much. Stupid. Can't read. Yep, that's me. So let me give you some ideas on that. Now, first, to me, it's not so much a B as it is a shape. Because when we look at that shape, here's the B. And that's what you see, a B. But again, I see the shape. Because is it a B? Or wait a minute, same shape, is it a D? I'm not sure. Or could it be a Q? Maybe it's a Q. Oh wait, how about a P? It's all the same shape, but how is it related to you? It's See, there, that becomes the challenge. Imagine if you had a superpower where you could take any shape and start spinning it around in your head. Good grief, I was on a car website a while ago, and I was noticing that if you pick a car that you can rotate that sucker, the computer does it for you. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I never needed to use that. Since I was a kid, I was able to pick up a car in my head and spin it around and look at it from every different angle. But hey, now you can do it on the computer too. That's pretty cool. But when it comes back to reading, what's that have to do with anything? Well, you take that one simple 3-letter word, bat, and you start moving that one shape around, and you end up with a whole bunch of other options. But wait a minute. What if that shape is also moving inside the word with all of the other shapes? So you start getting a whole slew of different answers, different possibilities, different combinations. And we're only looking at a 3-letter word. And hey, we took that particular shape and it was only in there once. What if the word was bad or dad? I mean, we can start coming up with limitless possibilities when things really get going. So here, 2 more sentences flashing up in the screen for you. And you go, oh yeah, I got it. Instant, I know what's going on. But imagine for a second, everybody around you is looking at all the information that's in front of, whether it's the text on the board or the PowerPoint or the worksheets that you've got in front of you or the books, and there's conversations going on and questions being asked, and everybody is looking down, glancing at things and pulling out information. Or maybe you're not at school, maybe you're at work. Because that happens at work too, where you've got to find information quicker. You're on the phone talking with a client or whatever it is, and they ask you something, you have to pull up something really quick, get the answer and feed it back to them. All these different things are going on, but you're the only person in the room. While all of that's happening, this is what you see. Just a whole bunch of gibberish. How would you feel? How do you keep up? What do you do? I mean, think about that. Would you cave in? Would you make up excuses? Would you quit? Would you find another way? Here we're talking about reading. What's reading about? Reading is about getting information. Okay, so if the goal here is to get the information, well, getting the information is the important part. It's not so much the reading. Reading is not the only way to get information. It is the most readily available, but it's not the only way. Okay? Think about this. You've got a child in high school, maybe you actually do, and you find out today that their teacher can't read. How long would it take you to get your child out of that classroom? I mean, honestly. Would you be headed down there right now? I want them out of that stupid teacher's classroom. How upset would you be with the school system for hiring a moron like that? I mean, right? Wouldn't we be upset about that? Well, let me challenge you with a different perspective on that also. What if, now mind you, if the teacher got hired just like all the other teachers that had to do all the same stuff, do that without reading, you're right. But anyway, let's pretend that they did. Could you look at it from a different perspective? Hey, what a privilege to have my child working with a teacher who knows how to overcome things, who figured out another way, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the odds, how to overcome. Is that a different perspective? Is that a cool way to look at something? I know it's different. But for me, when we back up and look at this stuff, what happened is I was in my 30s, somewhere in my mid 30s, when I started picking up books like the rest of you do. And people go, what? See, when I learned to read, I taught myself to read basically when I was in my mid 20s. And when I started working on my reading skills, it looked like this. Another day, I was given something that looked like this. I read it, and I actually had no idea that it wasn't written correctly. There was somebody else that came up and they're like, oh, it's mirrored. What? What do you mean it's mirrored? Had no idea. So here's the thought. Are you a fool or gifted if you can make sense out of this? This is why they said that I could never succeed. And to me, it became a gift once I figured out how to use it. So the question for you is, what gifts do you have today that you still look at as a challenge? Because once you find your way over, around, through that challenge, then and only then do you get to find the gift, to see that gift that was hiding there all along. And it's so special when we find it. You think about how I overcame some of those things, okay? If we're talking about how do you get the information if you can't read? Well, it's not easy, okay? But what I did is I had to make sure that I never skipped anything. In fact, I had to find ways to be in the room with the smartest people on the subject that I needed to learn about. I didn't have to be friends with them. I didn't have to be part of the conversation with them. In fact, even if I was part of the conversation, typically I couldn't even think of an intelligent enough question to be able to ask. So I would sit quietly and just listen to the conversations. I learned from every question that was asked. I learned from every answer that was given. I listened, listen. How did I overcome the reading challenge? Well, for me, I'm sure it's going to be different than everybody else. But the two things that stand out to me are the fact that when I was in ninth grade, by chance, I just happened to open my book upside down. And it only happened for a few moments because when the teacher noticed, I got in trouble. So I never did it again. But what stuck in my mind was the fact that that moment that I had my book upside down, that was the only time that I had ever been able to actually track where the students were that were reading. Why that worked, I have no idea. But that was the first hint I had to start my journey in learning to read. That's why the book was upside down. The other thing that I realized, or I came to realize, is understanding that all the letters are shapes. Okay, like I was sharing with you a minute ago. And most people take the shape and they relate it to pretty much the ground. Okay, so this is the bottom of the letter, and that's how they relate it. For me, no, it's just a shape. And because I can rotate things naturally, easily, out of control, at least back then, okay? Now, for me, what I do is I relate one shape to the shape next to it. And once I do that, then I instantly know which direction I have to read in. Which is why when it's mirrored, it's upside down, it's whatever. I'm looking at how the shapes are related to each other. I'm not looking at what is the bottom based on the ground. Different way to look at things. So, again, this was about giving some perspective as far as stupid, what's stupid. I'm not sure I have an answer to that. I think what I would say stupid would be is the person that chooses to quit. Because once you quit, there's no chance to succeed. And I think we should all keep going. Keep trying till you get it. Go make it happen. Good luck.